Hey friend, welcome back to the Created Worthy podcast. I am your host and fellow worthy warrior, Danielle Damrell. On this show, we are creating space for genuine connection by unifying women of all ages, backgrounds, and experiences. So grab your favorite drink and get ready to listen as we take a deep dive into our stories, making sure to honor and protect them in the process. We will also uncover the threads of creative processing that have already played a part in each of our lives. When we know how to utilize this as a skill, we can continue growing into the joy-filled, triumphant women we are created to be. You are created worthy. Hello. Welcome back to the Created Worthy podcast. This is the season finale of season 3. I can hardly believe it that we have had an entire season already. All 20 episodes, or is it 19? I don't know. We end on an even number. So however many episodes it's been, around there. So for today's episode, we are actually going to do a season guest update. I think we have done that at the end of every season, we've done some kind of a guest update. And I use this as a creative processing session where I set up an intention. So I use my prompt. The purpose of season 3 episode prep is to process guest and show updates. And so that's what I did today. And now I get to share them with you. And I'm telling you right now, the guests this season are change makers. They have already made such huge amounts of impact, have really taken forward steps and stepped into really who they are. And so it's really cool that we're going to take a few minutes and hear about what has happened in their lives since they recorded with me and shared their life stories on here. So without further ado, let's start with our season opener, Ati Grinspan. She joined us on episode 41 to share her story from being the too much girl to stepping into her power as the BU brand queen. So in case you missed it, Ati is a personal branding coach, speaker, photographer, and best-selling author who is spreading her light across the world. Ati has had some really incredible success since we recorded, and I actually had the privilege of hanging out with her for a week at a mastermind retreat that we were both leading at in Arizona. She shared at that retreat just all about her journey from going from an award-winning Vegas bartender, which she actually showed us the YouTube video. And you guys, I don't know if that's something that she talks or shows people often, but she is by far the most impressive bartender I've ever seen. The things that she can balance on the parts of her body that she can balance them on, I didn't even know that was humanly possible. So she really was truly an award-winning Vegas bartender who stepped into her passion as a brand coach. She is just such an incredible human. And if you happen to be listening to this the day that it comes out and are an entrepreneur or are an aspiring entrepreneur, make sure to go follow her over on Instagram at ATI_G_branding to sign up for her free branding bootcamp that starts tomorrow. If you're listening to this and it's already passed, still go follow along with her journey. She is just such a light. And it's been quite a gift to watch her step into her own worthiness and help so many other women discover how to leverage their unique and personal brand. Ati, you are created worthy. So in episodes 42 and 43, we were joined by Leah Khan, who came to share her story of fighting for acceptance as she battled through many heartbreaking situations, including marital abuse, mental health issues, and even a suicide attempt. But she ultimately chose life. So Leah is a mom of 3 girls who has been actively working to dismantle the generational trauma by loving her daughters gently and strongly all at the same time. She has been doing just that in the time that it's been since we last recorded. She has continued serving others through her gift of photography while raising 3 beautiful girls alongside her husband. So, all of the stories that are shared here leave a lasting mark on me, and probably you guys too, as listeners and YouTube video watchers, if you watch. But Leah's story has definitely had a lingering effect for me. So it's not easy to sit down and share about the trauma that you've walked through, even if you've done the work to process it as she has. It takes a lot of courage and vulnerability to show up and say, you know what? If this has the possibility of helping someone, I'm going to push past the uncomfortable and let God use my testimony to further his calling in both my life and in the life of others. And that is exactly what Leah has done. I am so grateful for her and proud of her. I want you to make sure to follow along with Leah's journey over on Instagram at Ellie, ELLE, Kaan, KAAN. Leah, you are created worthy. So in episode 44, we heard from another worthy warrior, Lene Lopez, who told her story about moving through all kinds of uncertainty. Lene is an educational architect and the founder and CEO of Verve Early Childhood Consulting. Lene has made some ginormous strides forward in the last several months since we've recorded, and it again has been such an honor to watch the ways that she's grown. So Lene was also at the Mastermind event in Arizona earlier this year, and it's always so special to just hang out with people in person. Not only is Lene a brilliant business owner who has come through quite a few challenges of her own, but she is also just a genuinely kind and gracious friend. I've had the privilege of working even more closely with her as she is a part of the collaborative book that I'm managing right now. Walking alongside her as she gets to share her story in written word is just such a powerful experience. And I am so excited for you all to read more about her business and her life and her mission when that book comes out, hopefully in August. So in her business, Verve Early Childhood Education, I believe that is the official name. But Verve, we recognize her as Verve. She has all kinds of new things happening over there. So first of all, she has a new website that we've been working on for quite some time. And she's also recently started recording for season 2 of her own podcast, Cafe Verve, where she interviews innovative leaders of all kinds. You can watch those interviews live on LinkedIn, or you can find the podcast pretty much anywhere podcasts are found, just like Created Worthy. Most recently, though, she officially announced that she is hosting a retreat in Fiji where she is going to be alongside a group of people who are ready to experience healing and connection through nature, community, culture, service, and self-care. So I believe this is open to everyone, and there is a whole itinerary available. I will have all the links for her website, podcast, and retreat information in the show description. Lene, you, my friend, are created worthy. So in episode 45, we talked to Nicole Ritter about overcoming depression and anxiety by restoring her health. In case you missed it, Nicole is a leader in the functional health space and is sharing her devotion for whole life wellness with thousands of people each and every day. Since the time of our recording, she has joined alongside another incredible leader in the functional health space, Jen Sino, to continue helping other women find real healing in their bodies, minds, and souls. I have to say, Nicole is also just a really badass woman who genuinely loves to help people. She's even helped my husband and I as we navigated through a weird, scary mold situation in our own home recently. And I am just so grateful for her and her vulnerability to both share her story on this podcast and to just lend a helping hand. So definitely make sure to follow along with Nicole on her Instagram at Nicole Ritter Health. And Nicole, you are created worthy. So in episode 46, I sat down with Monina Wright and we talked all about her story of uncovering her true beauty by trusting God with the process in her life: marriage, fertility, and business. Monina is a licensed esthetician and professional makeup artist, speaker, beauty trainer, leader of the top-ranked bridal makeup team in the Bay Area, mother of two, and most recently, a best-selling author. In the time since our recording, she has been making huge moves, quite literally, within her own life and business. She has moved into a new, bigger location and has begun working on some really exciting projects to help even more women find the courage they need to show up confidently on camera or in their businesses in general. And just last week, this is big. Just last week, she became a best-selling author in the collaborative book she wrote alongside 13 other women. This book is called Owning It, and it is a powerful human glimpse into the story of 14 women on a path of taking full responsibility for themselves and the lives that they are living. Only by owning our reality do we have the power to change it. And I will have the link to share that book, or to snag that book on Amazon. And I'm sure she has it on her pages as well, but I'm going to put the link to snag it on Amazon in the show notes. So yeah, that is a big update for Miss Monina, Mrs. Monina. She is married, and you should listen to her story because her stories with her husband and what they've gone through are really inspiring. So all of that to say, not only is Monina killing it in her business right now, but she has also just been a real friend to me over the last many months with her sweet messages of faith and encouragement. It's so fun when God uses the conversations on Created Worthy to bring about real connection and friendships. It's so fun when God uses the conversations on Created Worthy to bring about real connection and friendships. I bring women on this show who feel called to share their story, but every single time, it just proves to be a God thing. His timing is impeccable, and I am continually humbled by how and when he connects me with these true warrior women. Monina, you are created worthy, and her information will also be in the show notes. On episode 47, I had a conversation with Alejandra Marquis, all about her story of going from burned out to unstoppable. Alejandra is the go-to time and lean system strategist. She, again, has done some crazy, amazing things in these last few months. Just like all the other women, Alejandra is a genuinely great human being. She is constantly helping other friends promote their offerings while also providing immense value to the general public through her social media and now podcast platform. So if you are someone who struggles with time management or even just find yourself hitting burnout over and over again by wearing all the hats, then you definitely need to follow along with her over on her Instagram, Alejandra Marquis _ your plan A. Again, I'll have her information in the show notes. But at the top of the page, you can find all kinds of ways that you can work with her. And as I said, most recently, she launched her very own bilingual podcast called The Unstoppable Podcast, where she's bringing her listeners all the tips, tricks, and actionable tools and incredible guests to become unstoppable, achieve their goals without burning out, and creating the life of their dreams. So please make sure to check out her podcast, subscribe, rate, review, all the things. It really helps out new podcasts when you show them some love in the first couple of weeks of launching. However you do it, make sure to follow along with her as she continues making a massive impact. Alejandra, you are created worthy. So on episode 48, I sat down with Natasha Hemingway and we talked all about capturing the heart and surrendering the hustle. Natasha is a sales consultant, coach, and speaker, and the creator of Heart Not Hustle, a sales coaching firm founded with the aim to help others find and focus on the deeper meaning behind their business motivation and sales message. What you don't see and hear in these episodes is the discussions that we sometimes get to have before and after. Let me tell you, that time is really impactful. Natasha and I had a really powerful discussion after recording that has lingered and stirred up so much goodness in my soul. Not only did she drop some personal truth bombs and love shoves, but more importantly, she prayed for my family and I. She is a woman of her word, and behind the toughness is a woman who knows who the heck she is and whose she is, and is determined to carry out the purpose that God has on her life. Natasha is active on LinkedIn and Instagram, and there are several ways to work with her listed on her website and LinkedIn. Don't forget, she gave Created Worthy listeners a special discount for her self-paced sales coaching experience, and I will put that again in the bio or in the show notes. Natasha, you are created worthy. So in episode 49, I sat down with Myrna Atha, where we talked a lot about how mentorship is often found from within. Myrna is driven by decisions. Growing up in a small city in Canada, she always felt that there was more in the world for her to discover. She truly believes that decisions, not conditions, determine your destiny. So, an update. Just a few days before Myrna's episode aired, her beloved sister, who she spoke so highly about in our conversation, suddenly and unexpectedly passed away. Obviously, this has been a devastating loss, and I have been sending all my love and prayers her way for months, but I just recently talked to her, actually today, just minutes before jumping on here to record. And she was sharing about how she is carrying out her sister's legacy right now, and that she's found a lot of peace in that. So God is definitely working through this obviously terrible loss. And I'm just so grateful that she is helping so many people. Another little update for you. Her business is doing really, really well. And she is speaking at the end of the month at a big conference, and she's just killing it. And I'm just so happy for her. Myrna has such a beautiful soul, and has had such a heart to help other people make decisions that will positively affect their lives, just as she has been able to do in her own life. Myrna is most active on LinkedIn, I think, so make sure to connect with her over there. Maybe if you have a minute, send her a little message on there, letting her know how her story has inspired you. I know it has for me. Myrna, you are created worthy. So in episode 50, I sat down with Blake Goucher, and we chatted about her story and life experience being and continuing to become a megaphone amongst whispers. Blake is a best-selling author, podcaster, and the founder of the Crappy Christian Co., which aims to teach women how to use their God-given gifts for the kingdom. She is also the host of the popular podcast, Confessions of a Crappy Christian. So in the time since we recorded, I finished up my time in her small group coaching program, which I gained a ton of clarity about the direction that God has really been leading me into while I was in her program. So that was awesome. And Blake has continued to show up and use her voice and platform to talk about the things that most Christians don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about, but honestly need to be said. She started her Speak Easy series on her podcast as well, and I have really enjoyed hearing her perspective on things like cannabis, New Ageism, and cancel culture. She also has some new offerings, so make sure to follow her on Instagram at The Girl Named Blake to see all the amazing things that she has going on. Blake, you are created worthy. So on episode 51, I sat down with Fernanda Furman, who courageously told her story about being a domestic violence survivor and finding refuge in the ultimate source of wisdom, in God himself. Faye is a Brazilian architect turned virtual event strategist and the producer behind some of the most popular six-figure launches and visibility-driven online summits. Since we first recorded, Faye took a 6-week trip back to Brazil and was able to spend some really good, solid time with her family. During that time, she was able to reconnect and ground herself in order to create space for the clarity that she was seeking for her next steps, which she shared about in her episode. Faye's honesty during our episode and friendship outside of it has been so encouraging, and I'm just, again, so grateful for her. She is an incredible friend, mama, and business owner, so I'm excited to see what God has in store for her next. Make sure to follow along with her as well. Faye, you are created worthy. So in episode 52, Kara Jo Knapp came back again to share with us an exciting update about what has been going on in her life since we last heard from her in 2021. We talked all about achieving goals, making mistakes, and preventing the hate to create. So in the months since the recording, we have continued working together at her studio a couple of times a month, and her retail products have been selling like hotcakes on Etsy and Minted. I love that I have the opportunity to go create beautiful things alongside her and her creative genius self. She's just so cool. The luxury invitation suites and day of designs that she's already started and completed this year or has on the books are seriously stunning. It's wild that human hands can make things that are so beautiful. So make sure to follow along with Kara Jo on Instagram at Knapp Design Co. KNAPP Design Co. Kara Jo, you are created worthy. So in episode 53, I sat down with Dr. Elizabeth Wygant, who shared about her life story and how she came to discover the life-changing power of unearthing our feminine superpowers from within. Elizabeth is a former pharmacist turned women's health and gut health guru, functional nutrition expert, author, contributor for Best Holistic Life magazine, speaker, the host of the Thrive Mama podcast, which she has now released a new season of, and a wife and mother of 2 little ladies. So in the months since we've recorded, she has put together a completely new and improved program to help women step into true alignment in mind, body, and spirit. She is also another woman who I had the privilege of spending time with in person at the Arizona retreat, and I am walking alongside her as well as she shares her story in written form too. Elizabeth is brilliant, and I can't wait to continue to see how she continues to help women unleash their hormonal advantage and revitalize their lives. So make sure to stay connected with her on Instagram, LinkedIn, or check out all of the new details in her the Femme Formula program that she has at her website, elizabethwygant.com. Elizabeth, you are created worthy. In episode 54, I talked to both Morgan and Nikki in a roundtable discussion. I've never done that before on Created Worthy, but we all just felt like we wanted to process reality together. So again, it was kind of a live creative processing session where we had an intention and we talked through reality, the hard parts of reality, and then also what we're trying to find joy in. So Nikki and Morgan have both definitely faced quite a few different challenges over the past few months, and they are both continuing to process through reality the best they can. I do have a really sad, but exciting announcement regarding Morgan. This is actually going to be the final episode that she produces for Created Worthy, as she is moving on and starting an all-new venture. I'm obviously really sad to see her go, but I am so grateful for her and all the work that she's done to make Created Worthy possible. They didn't ask for this, but I would encourage you to be praying for both Morgan and Nikki as they continue to seek the Lord for the next right step in each of their lives. Nikki, Morgan, you are both created worthy. So on episode 55, I had the privilege of sitting down with Moira Gorski, who so eloquently shared with us her story of finding hope after battling with her own eating disorder through focusing on joy. Moira is a multi-passionate entrepreneur, wellness advocate, top leader in the direct selling industry, podcaster, and mom of 4 grown children. In the months since recording, we actually recorded another episode together, but this time on her podcast that just came out last week. And in that episode, I actually shared a little bit about my own experience with an eating disorder and how I use creative processing to find joy. even in the midst of a continuously chaotic life. Moira has continued to embrace her love of ballroom dancing and is such an encouragement through everything she shares on social media. All her links are in the bio as well, including the link to her podcast, Your Journey to Joy. Moira, you are created worthy. On episode 56, I had a lovely conversation with Emily Kim in which she shared her story and then shared all about how she has created systems to conquer the doubt that she's faced throughout her life. Emily Kim is a software engineer turned brand photographer and videographer and now brand coach. It hasn't been too long since we recorded, but Emily has definitely made quite a few big moves in her life and business that just continue to confirm that she is right where she is meant to be. She started her free Facebook group community, Profitable Creatives, Practical Branding, and Business Tips and Strategies. And she had her very first free boot camp that was, I would say, very successful, all while she was literally moving houses. She also started her first group coaching beta program that she has since launched since that boot camp, and just has a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes that is all aimed at helping equip creative entrepreneurs with what they need so that we can squash this whole starving artist thing. Emily is quite honestly one of the kindest people I've ever met. Not only has she done all the things that I just mentioned in the last few weeks, but she's also just been there for me as I navigated through some of my own stumbling blocks in my business recently. Her advice, support, and wisdom has truly helped me to step into my own worth as a creative business owner, something that I've been working on for a long time. And I can't wait to see how many more thousands of people she helps just by simply using her strengths and abilities. She is truly a gem. So definitely make sure to join her Facebook group if you are a creative business owner, and check her out and follow her on social media. She takes the most beautiful photos as well. So if you are in the Bay Area, I believe she's in the Bay Area, and need a photographer, brand photographer, you're going to want Emily, trust me. Anyways, Emily, you are created worthy. As far as the last two episodes about processing change and grief go, those were actually just recorded with Savannah Higgins just a couple weeks back, and she gave a bit of an update on those episodes. I mentioned in one of those episodes, but Savannah is the perfect example of someone who feels called to share in a limited capacity. She hasn't been quite ready to share her whole life story yet, but she still shows up to process through certain topics that are applicable in her life. Savannah has been to almost all of my creative processing workshops, and she utilizes the prompts and concepts often. So I love that we can do some more live creative processing about certain topics on Created Worthy. All of this to say, no real update for those episodes, but Savannah, you are created worthy. So that is season 3. We had such a wonderful lineup of guests. I couldn't have asked for anything better, and I am so grateful to each and every guest who showed up and shared their story. Your story matters. Okay, now we're going to move on to some general updates before closing up this season. I hope that this episode has been interesting, and honestly, I'm probably going to tell people to go listen to this if they want a quick overview, because truly the guest lineup on these shows are so good. God is so good in the people that he provides for this platform. So yay. Anyway, moving on to general updates. I am actually going to go on a social media break from April 17th to June 12th, at least. I've really been feeling called to this for a while, but I needed to wrap up this season and figure out kind of a plan for my creative processing workshop, since I have been offering those online. The time is almost here, and I'm so glad it is, though, because I have so many ideas and plans that I'm looking forward to working on while I step back from promoting and connecting as much on socials. So one goal I have for this next week, though, is to put all of the ways that we can work together in my Instagram and Facebook so that you know how I can continue serving you, even if I'm not active on the platforms at this time. watch out for that and make sure to subscribe to my email list if you haven't already. That is where I plan on really being able to serve people more purposefully and vulnerably and in a container. So, all of the things going on at once. So please make sure to sign up for my email list. I am anti-spam, so don't worry about that. There will be a link to subscribe in the show notes, and I'll also leave it in the bio on all my social media pages as well. Updates a little bit about the creative processing workshops that I've been advertising this whole season, that we've been doing on Zoom every month this year, and honestly, since November of last year. So I'm still offering those. My commitment was to offer creative processing workshops all through the year of 2023. Free ones, and then I also have private ones, which I'll talk to you about in just a second. So here is where we're at with those. For the next 2 months, the free workshop that I've been doing, I will continue doing, but in a little bit of a different way. I'm going to offer them in person. So I hosted one at a MOPS group a couple of weeks ago, and I have another one coming up for a church and a community group. And I love hosting these in person because no one can shut off their camera or mute themselves. And I'm a pretty interactive person. So to learn how to do this kind of speaking where there's no interaction is been a challenge. And that's probably why I trip on my words so much, because I'm like, where are the people? I'm making jokes. We should laugh like that, just then. But anyway, so all of that to say, if you lead a group in the Denver metro area, and are interested in having me come and host a workshop for you, please reach out to me for more information. And if you have been through the Processing You workshop, whether it's been online or in person, then I just want to invite you to join us for the private intention workshops within the creative processing community. So this month, we're processing faith and hope. Next month, we're processing comparison. Every month, we process some kind of specific intention. And all private workshops are held on the last Tuesday of the month from 5:30 to 7:30 Mountain Standard Time. You can register at my website or click the link in my bios because I always update those at the beginning of every month. Next, season 4 guest list is open. If you feel called to share your story, please reach out to me via email and I'll get you on the list. I'm not sure at this moment when I'm going to start recording for season 4, but it will likely be late summer, early fall, shooting for another early winter launch. And so, if you or someone you know might be interested in sharing their story on Created Worthy, send them my way. Send them to my email. My email is danielle@damrellcreativeco.com. And I would love to talk to them. Come share your story if you feel called. That's the prerequisite always. All right. Last but certainly not least, although I am stepping back from Created Worthy at this time for a few months while we continue to focus on other things like sneak peek. I know this is a very ADHD moment, but I am working on providing the creative processing workshops in a little bit of a different way so that it's more easily acceptable. That's a hint, but that's all I'm saying. Anyways, leave a review on this podcast, even though I'm not actively putting out episodes, because that helps my podcast stay relevant in between seasons. I've had some requests that have been like, Danielle, why don't you should do the show all year long? I'm like, no, I love podcasting. I really do. But my life works in seasons. So my podcast works in seasons. So that's why I do it that way. It's not because there's some grandiose strategy behind it. It's because that's what works for my life. So I learned that lesson the hard way. And now we just do the things that actually work. So even though I will be in between seasons, this podcast is always available. So every review or share helps the stories and the creative processing messages and tools to get out of the cloud and into people's hands so that it helps and encourages and inspires people and so that the show can continue to reach the people that it's meant to reach. So leave a review, share it with your friends, and I can't wait to see you guys next season for season 4. I know that the Lord is going to line up another incredible group of women, and I cannot wait for you to hear their stories as well. You, my friends, are created worthy. Thanks for tuning in to the Created Worthy podcast. If anything in today's show resonated with you, can you do me a huge favor and go leave a 5-star review? This helps more listeners find the show, and it also expands the impact, messages, and stories that are shared here. All the links and guest information are in the show notes. If you're on social media, I want to personally invite you to continue the conversations about these important topics that we're talking about. You can find Created Worthy on both Instagram and Facebook by just typing in Created Worthy Podcast. Can't wait to talk to you soon, friend. And don't forget, you are created worthy.